This morning, as new documents raise questions about whether President Trump was aware of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, Trump tight-lipped, refusing to answer questions about why he won't release the Epstein files.
Mr. President, why won't you order the FBI to release the Epstein files?
The newly released messages, part of thousands of documents from the Epstein estate released by the House Oversight Committee, mention Trump repeatedly. Shortly after he launched his presidential campaign in 2015, Epstein told at least one reporter that he had dirt on Trump and was willing to share. Writing, quote, "Ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door." Epstein then posing the question, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" In one 2018 text exchange, the context of which is unclear, Epstein wrote to an unidentified person about Trump, "I am the one able to take him down." Trump and Epstein were friends for more than a decade.
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
After Epstein's arrest in 2019, Trump said he hadn't spoken to him in 15 years. He insists he broke off the friendship when he learned Epstein and his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell were luring away young female staffers who worked at Mar-a-Lago.
He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place. Persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it.
The White House insists he did nothing wrong.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong.
But Democrats aren't convinced.
I think the emails that were released today, again, just raise so many more questions.
And now 218 lawmakers, including 4 Republicans, have signed a petition forcing the House to vote to release the full files. The final signature coming from Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva, sworn in just Wednesday after a 7-week delay.
The timing of the 23,000 emails that were also released right around this time really put an exclamation mark on the need to have this transparency and for all of the files to be out in public.
Now, the speaker says that vote is going to happen next week, and we're likely to see something that we rarely see here in Washington. We are told dozens of Republicans are expected to break with the president and call for the release of these files, something that many Republican voters have wanted for some time now. But, of course, even if it passes in the House, the fate of this is unclear in the Senate, and it seems unlikely that President Trump would sign on to this. Rebecca?
Yeah, very unlikely there. Okay, Mary, thank you.
Why are they trying to cover up that Donald Trump had sex with children?
I mean, it's as clear as day in the email.
Let me read what Jeffrey Epstein wrote. I want you to realize that the dog who hasn't barked is Trump. Victim, redacted, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. New information just released. Or is it? Because in 2011, that was released and everybody knew it. It's been out floating around. Here's the change. I want you to realize the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Virginia spent hours at my house with him. Why would you redact a name that is already out in the public square? Well, because it makes it all suddenly new and shiny. You see victim and you're like, oh, there's a victim that who was the victim? But when you know it's Virginia, you know this has already gone to court. She already testified about this. And I'm quoting, this is from the testimony. He didn't partake in any of this, any sex with any of it. It's true. This is not new news. If you remember when the shutdown first started, what did the Democrats say the reason why they did the shutdown? Why Mike Johnson and everybody else wouldn't negotiate? Because the heat was on to release the Epstein files, and they didn't want to have to do that, so they shut the government down. So the government is open, and what does Mike Johnson do yesterday? He said the House is going to vote on a bill to release all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein next week. Good, Mike. Release all of it. If anybody thinks that you're ever going to get the truth on this in the first place, it's madness. It was in the hands of the Democrats for the longest time. You don't think it was all picked through? And if there was anything about Donald Trump, you don't think that would have come up between 2020 and 2024? There's nothing in there about Donald Trump.
Point is, this does ensnare everybody. Yeah, it ensnares Trump. I don't personally care, whether it ensnares Trump, Democrat, whoever. I just want the information to come out because I do think it's so important to show how depraved and disgusting the American elite is, not just in their personal conduct, but how they'll do business with anyone, and how that person who is in this depraved, universe uses it to his own ends to enrich himself and to act on behalf of multiple foreign governments. I think that's a pretty big story. I think it confirms what a lot of people think, about our system, about our government, about the way things in power actually work. But that's part of why Trump, who's in power, doesn't want it to come out. So, you put this stuff together. This is why it all needs to come out. We can't have people like this in Congress, period. At least that's my standard.
Yeah. Now, in fairness to her, after major pushback, she did decide to return the contributions that had come from Epstein.
Okay.
But, look, if anyone is out there watching a program that only cares about the Epstein connections on one partisan side or the other, you need to get a new media habit, because obviously what Epstein exposes first and foremost is that, these partisan differences, when you talk about at the elite level, oftentimes they crumble and they operate in very similar manner. But I will say at this point, the most important information to know is about the president of the United States, specifically because of those foreign government entanglements that Dropsite alone effectively has been covering, in particular with regard to his connections to Israel. We need to know if the president of the United States is compromised by Israel or by, there was a Russian connection too. I'd like to know about that as well, or any other country that may be involved. Does Trump believe that these foreign governments have information on him that he would not like to come out? That is a very active question, and that is very, very important and central right now, given the political power structure.